So, chapter 7, the title of the chapter is What You Don't Know Can Hurt You, or the Law Against Secrets. Okay? And this was kind of brought up in one of the previous chapters, but we're kind of going to go in depth about secrets and what they do. So if you can imagine yourself in a courtroom setting, the goal of the defense, the defendant, is to keep the secrets. Let's say they really did do whatever it was. Their goal is to keep the secrets hidden within his heart and his mind. If he's on the stand, he's not going to pour out all of his secrets. The goal of the prosecutor is to somehow to get the defendant to expose those secrets. And the goal of the jury is to find holes and inconsistencies in the defendant's stories, to see if he stumbles in his attempt to make a very positive presentation of himself. Well, if you look at that courtroom setting, that's kind of how people are. If you remember, for some of us, instead of dating, it was called courting. Well, the reason that it was called courting, when you were trying to find a partner, you weren't really putting a person on trial, but in a sense you were. You were trying, in your attempts to date and find a partner, you're trying to find out whether they are a truthful person, do they hide secrets, and if there are significant secrets and deep secrets, they influence all aspects of a person's life. So it can affect a personality, it can affect their relationships. So if you're trying to find a partner and there's some deep-seated secret and you don't know about it, it could affect the way they are interacting with you. And when we talk about secrets, just to give a little context, we're not talking about just pouring your whole life out for the world to see. We're talking about deep-seated secrets. Yet, I mean, we don't know everything about each other. And some things you just don't feel real comfortable sharing with the rest of the world. But it's not a deep-seated secret that's really influential in your life. What we're going to talk about today is those deep-seated secrets, those things that you don't want other people to necessarily know until you can trust them, okay? So we're talking those secrets that do influence your life, influence your personality, and influence your relationships. So those, we're not talking about like, you know the difference between, just keeping your life is an open book, but there are just some things you don't share with people. I guess that's the way to look at it. Anyway, so it's important to shine a light into secret places within yourself, because secrets can cause deep anguish, and getting at the truth, the real truth about what's going on for yourself, can be tiring, frustrating, confusing, and even heartbreaking. And especially if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, because they're trying to get to know you, but you've built up these invisible walls that people can perceive, but they don't know what it's all about, and they can't penetrate. And so it keeps people away from you, keeps people at bay, it keeps your relationships kind of guarded, okay? It prevents some of the things we talked about earlier, which are your transparency, your openness, and your intimacy. It's hard to be open and intimate with someone who you feel doesn't trust you enough with their secrets, the things that maybe the traumas of their life, or the things that have happened to them, or things that they just carry with them, okay? So keeping a secret is exhausting, especially when someone's trying to build a relationship with you and get to know you. Keeping a secret can be frightening because you're afraid that of whether you can trust someone or not. Are they going to tell your secrets? it's a frightening thing because you feel insecure about it. And ultimately, as I said before, it can keep you separated from people that you do want to have those close relationships with, okay? The best way you can position yourself for a strong, healthy part of any relationship, or being a contributor to any relationship, is to live in the light, to be free from the bondage of secrets. And now that is scriptural. So I'm gonna pull out the Bible a couple times tonight. That one is scriptural, that God wants that from us. And this is in 1 John, oh, see, I have to switch glasses, 1:7, and it says, "But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his son, purifies us from all sin." So that's what God wants from us. He wants us to be able to walk in the light and be open with each other, and to know that God will help us through, the Lord will help us through any situation like that is difficult, okay? Okay, now, here we go. I'm gonna share a slide. Here we go. So the question you need to ask yourself about your secrets, things you like, am I keeping secrets? Do I have like deep, dark secrets? And to be honest with you, we all have some secrets, but are they secrets that can be detrimental to us? And those questions are, what is it about my thoughts, words, or actions that I do not want other people to know? If there is something, that could be a secret, that could be something that's detrimental to a relationship. What aspects of my thoughts, words, or actions do I wish God didn't know? And we know he knows everything, but sometimes we like to pretend he doesn't see those things in us. What am I most ashamed about my past or about my life today? So it could be a current ongoing thing that you're hiding, or it could be something from your past that you just, it has been so hurtful or traumatizing or whatever that you just don't feel you can share. And then what am I most afraid to share with my spouse, potential spouse, or my closest friends? You have friends, you have people that you feel that you have a good relationship with them, but you have a spouse, let's say, or a partner, and you're not sharing something with them, okay? And I, again, will share that slide with you. So if you ask those questions of yourself, and you can come up with something that you say, well, but I've been able to share it with some people. And I'm not saying share all your dark secrets with everyone, your deep secrets with everyone. But if you have people that you can share them with and you have those close relationships, that's great. What we're talking about is not everybody stumbles over this part of relationships, but most people do have something that they have to, or they feel they have to keep a little bit hidden from people. You may not think you have deep secrets, and maybe you don't. But if there is the slightest possibility that there is something that you've never told your closest relationship, whether it be your spouse, your friends, your closest relationships, you've never told those, it can affect those relationships, okay? So now we're going to talk about Samson, the man of God. And the story with Samson, what I found real interesting is that everyone can't go everywhere, because there are reasons why we can't do certain things in our lives, because we know that those are things that would trip us up. We know that my grandfather was an alcoholic, and he knew when he stopped drinking, he couldn't go to a bar. He knew that, because that would be a place that would trip him up because he was an alcoholic, okay? Well, Samson, we know the story of Samson and Delilah, and we know that women were a weakness for him. We know that. Delilah was. And we knew that he had a secret, and he shared it. And of course, Delilah wasn't a very trustworthy person to share it and that tripped him up. That's the one story we're very familiar with Samson. But if we go earlier in Samson's life, we realize that Samson did some things he probably shouldn't have done. He probably went places and did things he shouldn't have done. And he kind of set himself up with some deep secrets, okay? So in Judges 14, and I'll just kind of skim through this. In Judges 14, he said he starts a pattern of deception in his life where he wants things and he does things that as a Nazarene he shouldn't, because he has been set aside for God. And there were certain rules about the behaviors of a Nazarene who is set aside, okay? And he knew those things. Yet he put himself in situations where he went against those rules, and then he had secrets because he kind of broke some of them. So he wanted a Philistine wife, which his parents just did not understand. They just thought, okay, Samson, what is wrong with you? These are our oppressors. Why would you want to marry her? He finally convinced them, which is fine because ultimately that's part of God's plan for him to beat the oppressors, the Philistines. It's part of the plan. However, in going to get this wife, a couple of things happen with Samson. One is he takes a side trip when they're going to, and there's not a lot said about it, but when you think about it, you say, well, why was it even mentioned? He takes a trip to go to get this Philistine wife, and he goes to a vineyard. Now, anybody going to a vineyard is no big deal, right? But why would they mention it? And the author says, that's probably a place that Samson shouldn't go, because one of the things that the Nazarite would, because he's consecrated, the law said that no grape or product from the grape, which is grape, wine, vinegar, raisin, should they ever even touch. Like, don't even touch it. Not ingest it is way out of bounds, but they don't even want you to touch it. So why would you take a side trip over to a vineyard? Why would you go to a place that you know has all of the things that you are not to touch? So Samson kind of sets himself up to be tempted and challenged. Now, there's nothing in Judges, I'm talking about Judges 14, if you want to look it back up. There's nothing that says he did anything, but the author says this: why would you even set yourself up for that temptation? But he did it because he kind of goes by this vineyard. Now, he puts himself in this, I'm trying to make sure I get this in the right order. He puts himself in a situation where he has secret battles and secret things that he's done, okay? Now, the next thing he does is, if you know the story, it goes on, he comes across this lion. He kills the lion because the lion attacks it. Okay, fine. That's fine. However, he goes back and he takes the honey and he eats it. The bees have kind of nested in the lion. They make the honey and he takes it, he eats it, he gives some to his parents. Okay. Another part of the Nazarite vows are that they would never touch a dead body. Well, he went back and he did that. So now he's got this secret, and he's actually gone against his vows to God to remain this pure person, okay? So it's no surprise that he is putting himself in situations that if he hadn't been there and if he hadn't done certain things, he wouldn't have secrets. So what he kind of is showing us is that people who feel like they're strong and they're stronger than the places that they shouldn't be, or stronger than the temptations, have a tendency to put themselves into the place of temptation to prove that they are stronger than the temptation. And eventually it leads them down a path where they can lose everything. And basically that's the point. This leads Samson down a path that he starts to lose everything that God had for him, because he went against his vows. And even though God's purpose was ultimately done and taken care of, and he was able to do what God had for him, he had these battles, these inner battles, because he knew he had done things he shouldn't have done. And it was all because he thought in himself he was stronger than the temptations. So he felt he was stronger, but in the end, he loses everything. And even the presence of God in his life for a while, which is a frightening thing, and then has to come back around. The point being, we know what's off limits for us as individuals. You know, we know those things that leads us to our own secret battles. We know things that we shouldn't do because we know they're bad for us, that they're temptations we don't need. So why do we do that? Because we think that we're stronger than the temptation. And we think that we can come and go in and out of a place. And when I say place, it could be a physical place, an emotional place, you know, that we think we can come and go in and out of this place that is bad for us and not suffer consequences. And then we feel like, well, we've done this. Now we have to suffer this battle alone and in our loneliness. And that there's no one else who will understand and be able to help us with this battle. And that's a really, when you think about it, if you can imagine it, or if you've been there, you understand that though that kind of is a bad place to be. But we feel like we can come and go in and out of these places that have consequences and that tempt us without consequence. But there are consequences. And we need to be careful and take care of those things. And we need to know that they lead us into these battles that we don't need. So it's better to stay away and be done with those temptations. Ultimately, you have to deal with whatever the secret or the temptation is. You have to deal with it. Deal with it. If not, it gnaws at your heart, it erodes your character, it steals your focus from the things and the people who truly need your attention. Now, we've all been in situations where something has just weighed on us, where we know, and it may not be a deep secret, but where something has got our attention and we're having trouble dealing with it. And it's got our attention pulled away from where our attention really needs to be. And we know that. And we know that it helps to have someone to talk to or to refocus or whatever. But if this is a deep secret, it's not going to be easy for you to pull yourself back. I am now going to share another screen. We have a tendency to say to ourselves, come on. All right, hold on. We have a tendency to make excuses for those things. Does everybody see everything okay? These are common excuses. And if you haven't used at least one of these at some point in your life, you're not human. Because if you have a habit, some of these will fit right into a habit that you've tried to break. Here's your excuses. As long as no one knows about it, it won't hurt anybody. I'm the only one dealing with it. I got away with it last time. I can get away with it again. It really isn't all that bad. Just think about how bad, what other people must be doing. My little habit or my little deep secret is not half as bad as what other people do. I didn't murder anybody. Frankly, you will never be able to break the pattern, so you just find better ways to hide it. And I don't want to break the habit. I don't want to fix it. I just am going to find a better way to hide it. You're afraid that if your spouse knew about it, he or she would leave you. If your boss knew about it, he or she would fire you. And this is your best source of comfort or relief in life. And aren't you entitled to some comfort or relief? The last one kind of struck me as a little sad, because when you think my comfort and my relief should come from God, and I'm saying, no, whatever this deep secret I'm hiding is my comfort and my relief. But that's how we think when we have a habit or a secret or something that we carry with us, and it just seems to become so much a part of our personality and who we are and how we express ourselves to others, or how we hide from others because we don't want anybody to know those things, okay? Something to remember is that more people have deep secrets than you think. You're not in the boat alone. How they deal with it is the issue. Sometimes the people you think have the least to hide are the best experts at hiding their secret. They're better at hiding the secret because they have that exterior kind of, they've created this perfect exterior, what they want the world to see. There's no cracks in it. But if you also notice, they don't also have very few close relationships. They just don't let people near them, okay? There are 3 key truths about secrets, and I'm gonna go slowly because I figure some of you might wanna write this down. They're not difficult. The first key truth about secrets is if you do have a secret, you don't have to keep it. It's as simple as that. If you have a secret, you don't have to keep it. There's nothing that says you have to keep your secret. You find someone you can share it with. Find someone you can open up to. And once that's out and open, they can help you as you battle your battles with whatever your secret deals with. The second one is if you have a secret, it will damage you and your relationships. So if you have a secret and you're not being honest with yourself, you can't be honest with other people. There will come a point where your intimacy with people will stop because there's a wall, and they'll perceive the wall. They'll know the wall is there. They may not ever know what your secret is, but that's the point where it goes no further than that. Now, there may be people in your life who know your secret and can help you and all of that. And maybe that wall starts to break down. That doesn't mean you announce with a bullhorn what your secret is to the rest of the world, but it does help you open up and deal with your secret, whatever that is. And the third one is the minute you begin to deal with your secret, God will step in and help you, set you free, and lead you to a better life than you ever have known before. We know that God knows our secrets. He's just waiting to help. He just wants to help. So, but he's like, well, I'm not just going to take it away. I want you to be able to kind of come to terms with it, whatever it is. You know, sometimes a little effort on our part goes a long way, right? Okay, so we've kind of stepped all over everybody's toes about that. Uh, Now let's talk a little more on the positive note that your purpose in life, your purpose that God gave you, is bigger than any problem that you have. So remember that God, whatever your problem is, God still loves you and He has great plans for your life and He stands ready to help and heal you. That's probably the key thing that most people forget. Because, you know, we've heard it time and again, well, I can't come to church until I get right. And He's saying, no, I have a bigger purpose for you and I need you to come in now while you're broken so we can work on it together. And I have people kind of lined up in the wings ready to help you. So it's you don't have to do it alone, basically. The best thing for you to do is to expose your secret places, your secrets, and win your battles in a wise and healthy way. Probably a good example of this is people who deal with depression or mental illness in any way. A lot of times people will hide that they have mental illness issues. And the reality is, hey, just say it out loud. You'd be surprised how many people deal with them, people who have therapists, people who can be supportive of you when you feel that way. And that's okay. And that's a very wise and healing and healthy way to go about making that, putting yourself in the position to be healed. We talked in the past about David, and we know that David, boy, he did a lot of things that just were out of line for what God wanted him to do. He had a lot of secrets and it messed up some things in his life. He suffered because of his secrets, but God continued to use him. And that's the thing we have to look at David. You look at God continues to use you even if you're messed up. So don't forget, you don't have to be perfect for God to use you. Your purpose is bigger than your problems. And just keep remembering that your purpose is bigger than your problems. And there are ways through it. Also keep in mind that different kinds of secrets must be dealt with in different ways. Having a secret is a part of who you are, and it doesn't work for your betterment. It works towards your destruction. So it's best for you to find people who are trustworthy and begin to shine a light on that dark place. It is not the best way to handle a secret is not to say, well, I'm going to deal with my secret. So next Sunday in church, I'm just going to stand up and just announce to everybody, blah, 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 blah. That's not the way most secrets should be dealt with. When we say shine a light on your secrets, we're saying find someone you can confide in, whether it's a therapist, a friend, someone who can help you work through whatever your issues may be or whatever your secret is. So understand that every secret may have its own solution. There's not just one way to fix things, okay? And when you found someone that you can talk to and you can share things in safety, it's okay to take the risk, okay? It's a risky thing to share those things, but when you feel safe, know that you can do that, okay? Now, all that's about us. Now let's talk about those other people in our lives who we know have secrets and, you know, are trying to build relationships with us, and we don't know how to approach them and their secrets. Don't hesitate to put people on trial or put them in court or courting them, because you're courting any relationship. You're dating, it's not just dating, you're courting a person anytime you're building a friendship, a potential spouse, whatever. It's still, you need to know who these people are. It's wise to question and investigate the people you might be coming in contact with, especially if you're considering going into any kind of relationship with them. And I don't mean go get a private detective. I'm saying just find out what they're about. It's not usually the obvious things that you see that might be, might make you question that person. It's usually the hidden things. The obvious things, like whether we have anything in common, whether we have similar personalities or complementary personalities, or we have something that we like to do or talk about. That's not usually the obvious issue. The issue is usually a deeper problem, and it's somewhat hidden. The author gave this just heart-wrenching example. When you think about it as a person in ministry, the author is the pastor of this very large church. It has a wonderful ministry. And he gave this example of this person came into his life and into his family's life. He was a part of the church and seemed to be on the surface. He and his family seemed very supportive of the ministry, of his family, of the pastor himself, very personally, seemed very, very supportive. But behind the scenes, seemed to be undermining everything that the pastor and the ministry was trying to build. So what on the surface seemed to be this very supportive and positive person in his life was in the background undermining him and tearing things down. So as he's building, somebody's tearing down. So someone had to literally go to the pastor and say, do you realize what this person is doing? You've pulled him into your confidence as a friend, and he is not. And here's what he's doing. Well, that had to have been just heart-wrenching. But what the author said was, he knew what he had done. He had not really taken the time to get to know the person and really investigate them enough. He just immediately took a liking to him and just pulled him right in with no testing, no, questioning. So he said it was tough, but people make mistakes. We've all done that. Don't forget that trust is earned. And it is earned. If we all make mistakes, we don't try to hurt each other, but trust is earned, and you have to be able to feel like you can trust someone. It's okay to ask personal questions, because the more you get to know someone, the more you want to know about them. And in the proper setting, you can talk about personal things, and it's okay to ask questions about how they feel about personal issues, especially if you're considering opening up to them, but also to see, is there something you're perceiving about a wall or something? It's okay to initiate discussions about their attitudes or behaviors that you've seen that you don't quite understand. Or to say, I see you are a very kind and warm person, but once in a while you really, are mean. What, and it seems to be situational. And, why is that? And if your relationship is going to go anywhere, it might be something that the person might say, well, I get hangry, and if I don't eat, I just snap. And it may be as simple as that, but it's something you've seen. But there's a trust issue then. You didn't just immediately say, I don't love you anymore because you get mean. It's why I don't understand this about you. So it's okay to ask. And when you get to know them a little bit better, don't be afraid to ask people what their secrets are. If you get into a relationship with someone that is really becoming significant to your life, don't be afraid to say, are there things that I can help you with? I care about you deeply, and I feel like there are things we're not talking about, and we've talked about my secrets or my issues. The word secret seems a little awkward sometimes to me for this situation, but my issues, and let's talk about yours. So they may be hesitant to ask when you ask a question about that. And they may not answer right away, and that's okay. But take notice of how they do respond. They may feel that they may be nervous. They may be uncomfortable, and you can see it in their body language. They may immediately try to change the subject. They might try to make light of it and laugh at you for wanting to know. They might get defensive. But it's okay, because it may take time for them to be able to open up. But the other thing you have to remember is people who don't have anything to cover up or be ashamed of don't usually give the impression that they're trying to hide something. So it's an effort, but I think if you really want strong relationships, you really have to consider those things. The other thing is, if you suspect there is some kind of secret issue in this person's life, trust your instincts. You may be wrong, but more likely you're right. There is something, because we can perceive a lot that we may not be able to put our finger on a specific, like, here's the answer to that, but I just feel it in my spirit that there's something that this person, and it may be something that you can never help them with, but somebody else could. Especially as you're building relationships with people that may be coming into the church, and as new members, not one of us is going to help everybody. Each of us will be able to touch certain people certain ways, depending on our experiences, the level of comfort, and our ability to connect with people, and to be open and honest, intimate, and be able to talk about those deeper issues with people. So I think the idea that you care enough to ask for some people is enough. And they may say, I'm not ready to tell you, but when I am, I know you care because you asked. So, well, that's it for tonight, except for questions or comments. And I have some questions we can ask from the back of the book. But I'd like to open it up for just questions or comments at this point. Anything? No questions, no comments?
I know, well, there are instances, and I'm sure everyone has run across these people, where there are some people that just will tell you, you don't know these people, you only have, certain meetings with people, and they just pour out everything. I'm like, what is, do I have counselor written on my forehead? What's going on? So, I've come across that something, so I'm like, okay, I guess they want to get it out, you just sit there and listen, and okay, and move on.
I think people like that are that they don't really have too many people to talk to. That it's usually people that are, fairly lonely, and they can be with someone. They don't have to live alone. They just can't talk to the people who they're with. So as soon as they get out with somebody else, they figure that'll be a good conversation for you, and they got to get it off their chest, or something.
And they may sense that you have a listening ear, or somehow they feel, sometimes you just feel a connection with somebody right away, and you don't know why. And some people just jump on that. You and I might be a little more hesitant. They jump on it. And I get you, because sometimes you're like,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think as Christians, we have to be careful how we approach people, because sometimes we can attack um, meaning to be good, to do something good, to get them to confess, but the person can feel like they're being attacked and broken down. Um,
Are you,
I
Cheryl,
had this happen.
are you talking about when someone says to you, do you have secrets or do you have, or is it in the middle of the conversation? I'm not,
You have a secret and I know it. And
oh,
I'm going, they're going to call you out, but they are attacking you instead of helping you with the secret. I had this happen to me, and it was done in front of visitors to church. It was an out and out attack. I felt like I was broken down. I was destroyed, and it has taken me almost 10 years to try to get back where I was. And because of this, I've put up walls. So we need to be very careful how we approach people, and that we do it in love and not to destroy.
good point. Well, and a lot of what we've been talking about is you build the relationship to that point.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and you may know what someone's secret is. You may know or think you know,
Mm-hmm.
but it may be you need to wait before and have that private conversation. And when they're ready to talk to you, and don't say, I know what your secret is. You say,
Right.
you know, is there anything you want to talk about? Do you want to spend some time? Especially if somebody seems to be struggling with something and you don't, because sometimes we can tell when somebody's having a struggle, but we don't necessarily know what the struggle is,
Right. Right.
and so sometimes it's, do you want to spend some time? Do you want to get coffee and be alone and talk about it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So again, it's finding the optimal time, especially, if you're doing it in type of a ministry, the optimal time to be able to minister. And then if you're building a relationship, you're going to have those times where you have time with that person alone to build that trust.
Right. Okay.
Other questions or comments or thoughts?
I think that I think it was like in, last week's lesson that we might have touched a bit on this type of, on relationship bit, sort of, because this kind of brings back to my mind, and I think I made the comment last week, I don't remember for sure, but that, I don't believe in love at first sight, because I think that that's like more of infatuation or something like that, but not love. Because, like you had mentioned earlier, you have to, you should let that relationship build and develop. You need to try to get to know a person better, know more about, about what they are about, and them also to develop the relationship with you. So you have to get to know a person before you can even think that you're in love with them, or even think that you like a person. So you have to do that, and to be able to share information with them. And that would be like maybe a secret or something, because to be a confidant,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that they can, that they can go to, and hopefully they could be someone that you could go to. You can like share things like that. So
Well, I think we're drawn to people. I believe we're drawn to people and we don't always know why. Um, and I think in the dating sense, people are attracted to each other. I get all that. But I think in the sense of friendships and um, work relationships, ministry, you're drawn to people who make you feel comfortable for whatever reason. You feel more comfortable with this person or that person. And it doesn't make them a better person in ministry or a better person in general. It's just we're drawn to that personality, or we're drawn to that person. There's something spiritually that may be drawing us. Now, but I don't think it's an immediate, now I'm going to spill my inner secrets to you, but I may be drawn to you for some reason. There's something about you that I can immediately sense a trustworthiness, character, authenticity, something I think I feel comfortable with. And I think that's a starting point. But then from there, like Marcia says, some people take that starting point and jump way in, and you're like, whoa, you know, too much information. You know, I don't know what to do with this. I always feel uncomfortable when people do that to me, Marcia. I always feel uncomfortable that they expect the same right back from me. You know, that they come at me with all this personal information, and somehow like they want it back from me, that personal, and I'm like, no.
No, I do not reciprocate.
I mean, but I know that some people, that is like Mother Trout said, they have no one that they
Yeah.
feel that comfortable with. Even if they live with someone, they still don't have that sense of acceptance and belonging and comfortable, because they may live in a very uncomfortable environment. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, I have a comment. You know, some secrets are, I think, a result of, you know, when you're young, you do a lot of things. You do a lot, then you don't think you're experimenting
I know.
with things. And now we live in the age of cameras. We live in the age of everybody video and secret cameras, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. And some people exploit who you are or what you've done years ago by recording and then later broadcasting something that happened years ago, I guess in efforts to hurt you. So now, how do we as a result need to get ahead of the situation and go and broadcast and tell people, hey, this is something that I did a long time ago, there's a video out or whatever? Is that in lines with you know, exposing our secrets and getting counsel and all of that? You know, a lot of the times, well, I know that for myself, you know, as a result of this, you know, somebody going out and exploiting you and broadcast it, and I don't know, they may even make up things. I don't, you know, if, you know, what they seen is not enough. Some people may add to it. You know, you can doctor videos now and add to it, and you know, just dig the knife in even deeper. And as a result, you know, people may sometimes look at you and look down on you, you know, turn the nose up, you know, give you funny looks and all kinds of stuff. You know, but I think on the flip side, it's building you. It's building me. You know, it builds, I guess, character. You know, resilience. It builds, you know, a tough skin. You know, you're able to handle attacks, and it lets you know who's in your corner. You know, sometimes, you know, you get people that try to get in your circle, and you know, they're fake. So they know who they have an inkling of who you are up front. So if you don't like it, fine. Just keep stepping, keep moving. The people who are genuine will actually stay and make an effort to, you know, establish a relationship with you or whatever. So it kind of is a blessing in disguise. But I guess my question is that something that we need to address and jump on and tell somebody about a broadcast? Hey, I did this a long time ago. There's a video out or whatever, you know. I'm saying, how does that happen? Can you give me some insight on that?
You know, I can say from my perspective, I'm old enough that I'm thankful that most of the things that I did that were foolish were not, we didn't have cell phones. Right, Mother Trout? But there are people in my life who know kinds of wild stuff I did. I was not a perfect child by any means, but I do know that we all make mistakes. Is it everybody's business? No, because you're covered by the blood. And if you need help with that and you're getting help, if there was something like I always go back to, like, as an example, there are alcoholics in my family, and they were awful. They were awful people when they were drinking. And they got help, and they became more real people because of their ability to kind of deal with their drinking. They were alcoholics, but they you know, I had they had other issues that went with that. They tried. And as far as I'm concerned, what I could have done is held again. And my mother used to say this: if she could have had the father that we had as a grandfather, her life would have been different. Because as a father, he was evil. But as a grandfather, he was a warm and loving person because he stopped drinking. Did the family hold that against him? I don't think there were any. I don't remember any, but there might have been some. But we also didn't walk around and say, my grandpa was an evil person. I don't think we needed, because he worked on whatever he did and he got better. But I think it's kind of like if you're, I think that last part where I said, you know, every type of issue or secret has its own way to be resolved. I don't think a bullhorn is necessary, especially not in church, because we all come in broken. We all have brokenness. And if you are working to get better, then I don't think you have to announce what you've done in your past to the whole church. I don't think that's necessary. I do believe that you need to work through it with someone, whether it's your spouse, pastor, somebody, if you want to move forward from something that may be haunting you or whatever. Excuse me, I have a cough drop. But I don't think it's a bullhorn situation in church, because that's ridiculous. And that's what makes people run away from church. And you know, God can heal you, and God can, you know, he can do the miraculous. So if it's something that you feel like the world is somehow going to come sneak up and get you for, an example, if you were, and I'm just throwing this out because I know we've had situations where people who had been in prison, and they would come to the church. I might know they were in prison, but you might not know they were ever in prison. But I'm not going to announce it to you. And I'm not going to tell you about why they were in prison. That's not my job. That's not my role. I know because I've known them a long time. But that's not my job to, but if they wanted to talk to people in the church about being in prison, that's on them. If they felt it was a part of a ministry or an appropriate share at a certain time, then fine. But it's not for the rest of us to judge or announce. Does that help you at all? Because we all come from places of brokenness, whatever that is. And unfortunately, the world looks at I see it as we're all broke. The world sees it as you're more broke than that broke, than that broke, than that broke. I see we're all broke. People don't look at it the way I look at it, I guess. And so you'll have some people who don't like that. Oh, well, that's why I don't think it's it's not for me to worry about. If you want to share with me, you can share with me. That doesn't mean it's my business to share with anyone else. Does that help at all? Because God help anybody who remembers some of the stuff I did. I could tell you stories.
And then I have another situation. I ain't gonna keep y'all on the phone all night on the Zoom, but there was a situation in which someone in my family, in my opinion, took advantage of me in regard to soliciting me for some funds that they were going to use one way, but they took and used it, I think, for their personal use. And this was money that they came to me and said, hey, this is an emergency. They told me that they were going to use it in a certain way. I said, I don't even have the money expendable. So what I did is took out a loan. I mean, it was such an urgency they created and approaching me and telling me, that they needed this, and I said, yeah, I would love to help. And I took out a loan and got them this money. It was a lump sum of money. And I think they, and a couple of months went on, I was looking for this thing to manifest what they said they were going to use money for. He came to me a couple of months later saying, about a couple of months, weeks later, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact timeline, saying that, oh, well, this is not exactly what happened. There was a couple of people, I think, that reneged, that backed out of the, the situation. And he told me that at the time, the other folk had already put their money in. It was done deal. They just needed my money to just do a little bit more with this project or whatever that they were going to do. And it turns out that total scam. They took and I think spent the money. So I said, well, okay, I would like my money back then. And he said, well, all right. Or he got kind of angry and upset or whatever. And he's paying the money back in installments. He's paying this loan that I took out to get this money. I'm making him pay it back. So as a result, the only person that I told is my mom and you all. I'm not giving names, of course. And an effort to protect, because if I tell my other family members, they are going to go apes on this guy, and it's going to turn their relationship with him sour. So I'm keeping out of it. I'm not going to even inform them and poison them with this. And if later on down the line, perhaps he's paying it back, but I don't want to poison their relationship with him. I'm gonna let them and him kind of forge their own relationship instead of, me and him are done in regard to any type of business, because, I guess he was in the long term thinking that, perhaps we can go into business together, do something, to earn additional income or whatever. But I said, after this, after not being honest with me, it's done. So, but I'm not sharing that. I am keeping a secret. I'm not, they kind of had a kind of a shady feeling about him, whatever, but I don't want to ruin their relationship with him as a result of what happened to me. So what type of comments do you all have on that?
It's not all me, folks. Anybody else?
Well, personally, I think you're doing the right thing by not tainting their view of him or whoever this person is. However, by doing so, now I'm just throwing this out here, I'm thinking out loud. What happens when he goes to one of them, maybe, I don't know, for money, and they're getting in the same boat with him, when it kind of probably, if they had this information beforehand, they wouldn't do it. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know. But you are definitely doing the right thing by, I don't know. Somebody else say something.
No, I agree with you, Marcia. It's a toss up. Yeah, I wouldn't do any business with this person again. But you want to protect your other family too, because but then again, they may already know. I mean, when you think about it, I think about my extended family. I know who I don't trust in my extended family. Yeah.
Maybe it could be a way that you could, bring it to them because, yeah, I agree that you don't want anyone else to be taken, you know? Um, maybe it could be a way that you could communicate to them in a way that doesn't sound like gossip or exploiting him or something, like, I'm just like maybe something to the effect of I'm just telling you this because I don't want this to happen to you. Maybe something like that. Because this definitely affected the relationship between you and that person. And it should affect the relationship that he has with everyone else too, because if he did it to you, if he had a chance to do it to someone else in the family, he would do it. He would definitely do it because he's showing his dishonesty. So, but you have to be careful how you communicate it too. So, yeah, that is a touchy one.
Yeah, I think you got a good point, Mother Trout. It's all in how you approach it, and you approach it with, you might not give the specifics of everything he did or what happened between the two of you, but just say, I've had some dealings with this person over financial issues, and I just want to put this out that, be aware he's not as trustworthy as you would hope with paying back or whatever, however you want to put it. Yeah, it's you kind of have to tread lightly, but I think good points have been made. So
I apologize. I don't know what he did with the money now. I'm thinking it's a pretty strong chance that he may have spent it because he didn't give it back to me the way.
I'm sorry, real quick, Brother Terrell, it's really hard to hear what you're saying. Could you maybe speak a little closer to the mic?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that now I don't know what he did with the money. Now I don't know if he took it and spent it or if I doubt that he's saving it, because otherwise he would have been able to give it back to me just immediately. And I just want to throw that out there. I'm sorry, I don't know what he did with it. I don't know, but he's paying them back in, the loan anyways in installments. He hadn't given it back on, one lump sum like I pretty much transferred it to him. I'm sorry.
well, I think if you're just honest and say that you just don't know if he's wise with his business dealings, and that if he might not be the wisest person to go into business with, then the rest of your family, it might surprise you that some of them already know that. Because sometimes families will try to protect the person and then he moves from person to person. Sometimes that happens. I've seen it in my extended family, where someone has moved from person to person until they all start talking and say, okay, you're cut off, So I don't, it's family dynamics are, when you look at the people factor, we can do the best we can, but then you put a family dynamic in it, it can get ugly, but it's something to consider. I mean, some of the things that we've talked about with some of the ways you approach, your relationships with people, sometimes some of these tips can help. But then you have that other dynamic in there that is what it is. So are there other questions or comments? We're going over time here, folks. If not, I'm not gonna add more questions because y'all, took us somewhere, and that's fine. But that's tonight's lesson, which kind of bloodied up some toes, but that's okay. It also gives you some good ideas about how to approach a person that you feel has some barriers up.